everybody, it's James here from GoodGuitarist.com, and in today's lesson I'm going to show you all how to play Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio, which is actually sampled by a song by Stevie Wonder called Pastime Paradise. So, you're technically learning both of those songs when you figure all this stuff out. We're going to do it in a couple ways. We're going to do like a chord melody, that part. And then we're gonna do chords and strumming so that you can sing along to the song, right? So you can learn either way, both ways, whatever you wanna do. Now, a couple things before we get started, super quick. First of all, you gotta put a capo on the 3rd fret. That will make it in the same key. You could totally play it without the capo. It'll just sound lower, and if you go to play along with the recording, it won't sound right. But, if I wanted to play this song at a party and I didn't have a capo, whatever, I would just play it without the capo. Just, move everything down by 3 frets and there you go. And if along the way you find that you need any help with this, like if the chord shapes aren't making sense or, if it's a bit hard to get the coordination together, I have a bunch of resources designed to help you with this exact kind of stuff. There's my free ebook, my beginner's course, I have a course on bar chords, a whole bunch of stuff. There's links down below, so check that out if you need any extra help. Otherwise, let's just jump right in. We're gonna start off with the chord melody. I'll play it nice and slow. 3, 4. And that's really, really simple, it's just a couple notes at a time. It's not too hard to memorize. It uses like the same shape in a couple places. The only really tricky part is getting the melody note to kind of pulse, and we'll go over that. Let's first though start with like the basics of this whole thing. The first shape that we're gonna play uses 2 fingers. We're gonna put our pinky finger or our ring finger, I like using my pinky, on the 8th fret. And that's the real 8th fret. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Get your pinky down. And then put your first finger on the 6th fret of the D string. So we're at the 8th fret of the highest string, and then we skip a string, 6th fret on the D string. We get this shape right here. And you can pluck that any way you want. I like using my thumb for the low one, and then any of my fingers for the top one. This is really simple, it's not like a complex finger picking thing. Just use whatever you can. And just squeeze them both together. Then we're just gonna pluck the high string again. That's it, that's the first shape. So together, top. Then I'm gonna remove my first finger, which unlocks the open string. It's really the 3rd fret because the capo's there, playing the 3rd fret for us. And then I'm going to pluck the same strings in the same way. So together, top. So far, here's what we have. We have our finger down here, we go. Take that finger off. We're already halfway through this thing. Now, all we have to do is we slide our finger down by 1 fret and we make that same shape again. But now, this finger is on the 7th fret and this finger is on the 5th fret. But it's still, on the highest string and then the D string. We do our same little plucking thing on that. And now here, we move our pinky finger back to where it was at the beginning. And we put our ring finger down just above it. And we're gonna pluck the A string with our thumb. So we have the open A string. It's not really open, it's the 3rd fret. We have that plus the high string together. And then we pluck the B string. So it's almost the same thing, but we're plucking 2 different melody strings. So let's take a look at that second half. Once we're here at this shape, we slide back up, put both those fingers down. And then we're ready to do it all again. And this finger's already where it needs to be. We can just finish the shape. This is actually really easy for how cool it sounds. Anyways, just take some time with it, go through all those shapes. I'll put the tab at the top of the screen. You can kind of read your way through it. And when you're ready, we're gonna play this together super duper slowly a few times through, just so you have a chance to get used to it nice and slow before you try to go for it and play along with the recording. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and Cool. So now that we have the notes, let's add some finishing touches. There's one really important thing that I feel this needs in order to make it sound more like the recording, and that's to make the melody note, the higher note, have a pulse. So instead of just ringing out like, and just being like, you know, dee, dee, we want it to pulse. So see how it's like, there's sound, then there's a bit of silence, then there's sound, silence. And that makes it sound a lot more like the original recording. And to do that might be a bit tricky at first, but once you get used to the motion, it's actually super easy. All I'm doing to make that happen is I pluck the string and then I touch it again to silence it or to mute it. So it's like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I pluck on the number 1 and. That's where I put my finger down. Just try that. 1, mute, 2, mute, 3, mute, 4, mute, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And to incorporate this into that chord melody, I would go shape by shape. So I'd start with the first one and I'd try to do the pattern. Pluck them both together, mute, pluck, mute. So together, mute, pluck, mute. 1 and 2 and. Then we move on to the next shape. Together, mute, pluck, mute. Next one. And that might seem like a bit too much coordination-wise at first. That's why we do this in steps, you know? Just because we're learning about this now doesn't mean we're ready to do it yet. You might still be at the point where you gotta get this together really well, really steady, and then we can add that as a finishing touch. And when we're adding it, we do it one shape at a time. Even just start with the note. 1, mute, 2, mute, until you're really used to each step along the way. You know, part of playing music is being comfortable while you're playing it. You shouldn't be like on the edge hoping that it works out. You know, you do that when you're practicing, but to get ready to perform, you know, you should have done things so many times, you know, a lot of repetition, and that'll get you ready so that when you actually go to play it, it's a cinch. You know, that's what you want. You want everything to be comfortable and just a breeze. And that way you can focus on all the other parts of the song, you know, like the emotions behind it and really feeling it. You know, you're not worried about your fingers. You're actually hearing the song play in your head, and you know, you're a part of it. You're performing it. You're not just diddling it out like a, you know, like a player piano. You're actually performing the song and like adding some humanity to it. So really, really take your time with stuff. Now that we figured out the chord melody, time for the second half of this lesson. We're gonna show you how to play the chord shapes with the strumming pattern. Super duper simple. We'll start off with the chords. Our first one is F, and we can play that with a bar chord, which is gonna give us the, you know, the most real sound because it has the bass note. But if that's too much for you, we can also play it in a really simple way, just using this 4-finger grip where we skip a string, 1st fret, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 3rd fret, get our thumb lightly touching the low string, not too much, or else it might press it, but just a little bit, just so it touches it. And if you are interested in figuring out the F bar chord, I do have a course, Bar Chords Made Easy, which bridges the gap between like regular chords and bar chords. You know, a lot of the time people think you just have to jump from one to the other, but I've come up with a bunch of exercises and a bunch of stuff that, you know, I've done with my students for years that kind of takes you gradually. You know, it's like instead of climbing with a rope, you just get to take the staircase. Anyways, that's our first chord. You can either play the F bar chord or the easier F chord. And then we have a D minor chord. Then we have E and A minor. And I recommend, if this is giving you a bit of trouble switching between them, skip the F chord for now. Just focus on going D minor to E to A minor over and over again, because they're all really similar shapes. If you look at A minor, just take it over that way, stick one finger out, you got D minor. You know, reverse that process, bring it all the way over here, you got E. E and A minor are the same shape, you just move it over. So, you know, really take a minute, just look at the shape and just kind of work with it. You know, just flow through those 3 chords. Then add the F before it all. And when you're switching from F, whether you're using the bar chord or the easy chord, you can leave your middle finger down and just pivot off of it to make that D minor. So you should work on that too. E, A minor. And when you're switching from A minor back to F, leave your first finger down. You know, so there's a whole bunch of ways for you to work on your chord shapes if they're giving you trouble. Rather than just trying to go through them over and over again, focus on little tricks and all the tricky spots, you know, all the stuff that you can do to actually make it easier bit by bit. You don't do it just by playing through the whole thing. Anyways, wherever you're at with the chord shapes, let's take a moment now to practice them using downstrokes only, just counting them out and making sure that we're doing them the right amount of times. Starting off on F, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, F, D minor, E, A minor, 2 strokes each. Cool. Now let's add a strumming pattern to that. And this is like probably the second most common strumming pattern. It has a really straightforward beat and it feels really good on this song. It goes like this. And that's just down, root, down, down, up. Let's divide it into 2 parts. First, I'm playing an A minor chord, by the way. First we go down, root. And root just means to aim for the lower strings of that particular chord. So on A minor, those are the low strings, that one and that one. You know, just aim for that zone. So a full downstroke and then a little downstroke. And then the second half is just down, down, up. When we count it out, we would go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see that I'm not even using a pick. I'm just holding my fingers together as if I had a pick. That's because we were finger picking that first part. And when you're putting these 2 bits together, you're not probably gonna have time to, you know, be like, get out that pick. You know, we want like a seamless transition, and it's really nice, and I really like the sound of strumming without a pick, you know. Anyways, so we have down, root, down, down, up. I want you to take a minute with that, you know, work it out over each chord. Like on D minor, down, root, you know, the root is gonna be here because that's the lowest note of the D minor chord. Down, root, down, down, up. On F, down, root, down, down, up. On E, just work it out a bunch of times in a row on each chord just to get used to the pattern if you're not already used to it. And when you're ready, we can try to put it together with the chord shapes. We're just gonna do it 1 time on each chord and just cycle that over and over. That's the whole tune. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. right, so those are all the components in this song. Now all that's left to do is try to put it together. So I'm gonna play through this bit. I'm gonna do it 2 times through that. Then I'm gonna start strumming. I'm gonna strum through that chord progression 4 times. Then I'm gonna go back to that little bit. And then I'm gonna go back to the strumming. So we're just gonna practice going between the 2 parts a couple times. And we'll do it for the chord melody thing, we'll do it twice. And for the strumming part, we'll do it 4 cycles. And that's it. Let's try this, nice and slow. You can always just watch and see what's going on and then play along, rewind it and play along next time. Totally up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool, so that's how you play Gangsta's Paradise, Pastime Paradise, even Amish Paradise. Any of those songs, that's how you play it. I hope you have fun with this one. It's a bit different. It's not just a strummer. There's like a bit of a chord melody and some other stuff to kind of keep you challenged, keep you entertained. Either way, I hope you have a lot of fun, building this one up. And if you need any extra help, don't forget I have my beginner's course, my bar chord course, my free ebook, a whole bunch of resources designed to help you with this exact kind of stuff. Anyways, have a fun time practicing, and I'll see you soon.